depending on where you live. If I ask you to meet me in the city, it may mean something different. It could be a short drive downtown from the suburbs, or a longer train ride in from the country. But for tonight's guest, there's only one city. This is a 1979 Silver Shadow 2. A car hand-built by an automaker that is the last word in elegance.
Pick up for Dan?
Mr. Russo?
Uber Black has really upped its game, huh? This is unbelievable.
Quality vehicles, what can we say?
Only the best. Very on brand.
Very.
I love it.
Brand.
Look at this thing.
It is
It's older than we are.
magnificent. Harder to do these days.
Yeah, they don't make them like this.
No, they do not.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
We always try to match the car to the guest, and this time I feel like I hit a home run.
Rolls-Royce is actually a public company. The stock is up about 95% over the past year. Not that we're doing investment advice here.
Nothing is an advice, but I do appreciate that you just happened to know that.
I mean, listen, it's my job. I think it's the jet engine portion of Rolls-Royce. They're not
It could be.
not the part that's selling these.
I would like to see that in the weekly note, though.
Maybe we'll put it in there. Maybe with a link to this.
All right, let's do it.
There you go. Open it up. Let's go.
Not much.
Better than that pickup.
Very comfortable. That's how I would describe that acceleration. So, why is this place special?
So this place is special because I've been coming here for a long time. When Dara and I were planning our wedding, which took place just around the block, we would always stop in here for a glass of wine afterwards. And one time while we were sitting at the bar having a glass of wine, I kind of half jokingly said, we should do wedding after hours here. And we ended up going with it. So after our wedding, late night, ended up coming here with an entire group of people and hanging out upstairs, and everybody had a great time, and it was a lot of fun. The service here was amazing. The wines are phenomenal and different, things you're not going to find everywhere else, and it's not stuffy, which...
Fun always wins over formal, in my opinion. There's a place for formal, but...
Correct. But I think a lot of people hear wine bar and after hours from a wedding and my wedding, And they think it's going to be some stuffy place, and it's
Right.
not. It's just a lot of fun upstairs,
That's
and you know, the exposed brick, and the people who work here are amazing, and everybody just had a great time. And whenever I'm in this neighborhood, I stop in. Even if I'm by myself, I swing by and grab a glass. They have the most unique wine list in Manhattan, I think, in terms of wines you'll probably never find anywhere else, and it's just fun.
That's cool. Well, of everybody that I have talked to doing this, it seems that many of them kind of find their way into our industry. College, internship, mentor, something like that. This was not the case for you. You
Sort of.
always knew you wanted to do this to a degree. Yeah?
Yes, to some degree. So I was lucky. My father was in the business. And I mean, I guess in theory, everybody finds their way here. I found my way here when I was 12. And I was 12 years old. My father used to take me to work with him every day, the day after Thanksgiving. At the time, it was a full day, at 4 o'clock close. And his office was right around the block from the stock exchange. So he would bring me to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange and take me to lunch at the stock exchange in this, mahogany luncheon club, it was called. And I just thought it was a really cool place. And when I was 12 years old, he took me down to the trading floor, and he knew a lot of people there from his time in the business. And one of his friends, I don't know if he was joking or if it was an off-the-cuff comment, who was a partner in the first firm where I worked, said, when you're 16, tell your dad you want to come work here. And I said, okay. So 4 years later, I turned 16, and I turned 16 in September. And I look at my dad, I said, Dad, you have to call your friend, the guy at the stock exchange, and tell him I want to come to work for the summer. And my dad was like, what are you talking about? And I said, that guy, he told me when we went there.
4 years ago on this date.
It was the day after Thanksgiving, I remember it. And I said, listen, he said I can come work there. I want to go work there. I had no idea what that meant. It just looked like a fun place. There's people everywhere. There's paper all over the floor. People look like they're eating good. But obviously there's a lot going on. And my dad made the call, and the man who made the offer to me, Jim McMullen, stood by his word, right? This is a business where your word is your bond, and he stood by his word. So in the summer that I was 16 years old, I went to work at the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and
That's awesome.
I got to throw paper on the floor and got to get lunch for all the traders, and I thought it was the greatest thing on earth.
Very cool. So then that obviously was the beginning of a passion, because you're 16, and then how did that evolve from a summer opportunity into the beginning of your career?
So they had me back every summer.
Oh, cool.
Every summer I went back to work for the same place. And, my dad kind of put the fear of God in me, right? He said, listen, you're going to go work summers. You're not going to be one of those kids who just stands around and does nothing, right? You either want to be there or you don't.
Right.
And I said, okay. And I asked a lot of questions. I loved what I was seeing. And it was, open outcry trading, like think trading places. And screaming and yelling. And as archaic as that was, it was fun. And there was an energy to it that was like nothing I've ever seen. So every summer they had me back, I guess because I actually worked and I guess added some sort of value. And I had a job waiting for me when I graduated college at that same firm. So I graduated college and I started working full-time. I did take a bonus semester. So I started working full-time in January of 2000, the week that AOL bought Time Warner. So I basically top-ticked almost the top of the dot-com bubble, which was interesting because I'm in college, late 90s. It's a massive bull market, cutting class to go trade stocks because we couldn't do it on our phones then.
Right.
And kind of making money. And well, this is kind of fun. And you're getting to the new millennium and all the hoopla about that. Forget about, what was it, year 2000?
Y2K.
Y2K, that was the one.
It was all going to end.
It was all going to end, and then it didn't end. So I go to work full time right after that, thinking everything's going to be puppy dogs and ice cream, and then it wasn't, which was kind of interesting timing. And
Wow, that's fascinating.
a lot of people ask about my Potomac nickname, and that was kind of the start of it. Yeah, I think to have a front row seat for things like that
Yeah.
imprints you. I think that your early experiences in any job, any career, but in particular this one, your early experiences kind of frame your mindset almost for the rest of your career.
I completely agree, and to your life, I think, to a great degree. I remember my grandmother used to have cabinets in the basement, and I opened them up one day, and there would be like 25 tubes of toothpaste, 17 mouthwash, and different soaps.
It's that Depression era mentality.
Exactly. She grew up in the Depression. There's a coupon, she bought.
And let's be real, it hasn't been a depression for 25 years, obviously. This is not 1929. 2000 was not 1929. But it does imprint you because you go from kind of like puppy dogs and ice cream through the late 90s, and then it all just comes crashing down. Right as you're a 23, 24-year-old kid starting out. So, Doomsday Dan was kind of born out of my early experiences and working on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, kind of front row seat for the dot-com bubble bursting. Very, very close to the Twin Towers on 9/11. So you kind of see that things can go bad, and they go bad quickly. And it just imprints you. So I get labeled Doomsday Dan, and it's not on purpose. I think I'm just wired.
It's a funny nickname that I don't think anyone fully realizes the depth behind. Because it's not a pessimism, it's a real life experience.
I think it's maybe too much cynicism, but a lot of reality. And I think it kind of stems from obviously those experiences. But in turn, I could never be anywhere else now, right? Like I could never be somewhere that's not fully focused on risk and fully focused on protecting investors and their downside, because like I said, I had a front row seat for that. I was sitting on a trading desk in 2008 and 2009 and saw what that looked like. So, things can change, and I do believe that protecting your downside is one of the most important things you can do for investors and as investors.
Walk me through that part of the transformation from on the floor to trading desk to Potomac. Because
Sure.
There's a journey there.
There is. So from the floor, the transition is technology. Right? Like I said, it was open outcry trading. It's archaic, right? To think that the stocks of the largest companies in the US and some of the largest companies in the world are trading because a group of people are standing in a circle screaming at each other doesn't make much sense. Kind of technological disintermediation happened. It kind of had to happen. I didn't like it happening.
Driving a 50-year-old V8 around is
Fair.
Not really
100% accurate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of saw what was happening, decided to go back to business school while working full time, and thankfully was able to transition off the floor of the NYSE to a sales and trading desk at Susquehanna. And that was a different experience because at that time I wasn't trading. I was in a sales role. My clients were hedge funds, mutual funds here in the city in Connecticut and some other places around the country. So that gave me kind of a different perspective because now I go from trading on the floor of the NYSE to talking to different types of investors. And that's kind of when I realized I wanted to be a portfolio manager and manage money. Having those conversations, seeing the different ways that people invest, the different strategies that are developed, whether they're like what we do, systematically developed, or whether they were, fundamental views, people analyzing companies and ripping apart balance sheets and income statements. It didn't matter. I was just taking it all in and learning the different ways that, in theory, some of the smartest investors on the planet invest. And through those conversations, decided that that's what I want to do. Now, that's easier said than done. You don't just wake up one day and say, I want to be a portfolio manager. Or you can say that. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. So it was a long, it was a long process, and I'm thankful that it's here now and that it worked out, and that I'm able to be in this seat. And I just love it. I love the market. I think investing is hard, but fun and worthwhile. And I think I like that it's hard, but I also like that at the end of the day, no matter how systematic you make it, no matter how you try to preach, we want to take our emotions out of this, which you do to be a good investor. But on the other side of all that are people, right? There are people whose money is being invested so that they could achieve some goal, right? Buy a house, put their kids through school, retire at whatever age they want to retire, buy a second home, whatever it is, there are people there. So we're doing hard things to help people, and that's exciting. That makes it worthwhile to get up every day. I think at the end of the day, I just love it because it's hard and it helps people.
That's a great statement. I love it because it's hard and it helps people.
Yeah, it is hard and it does help people. And it's funny, part of my time on the sell side covering clients, I got really close with a few of the portfolio managers who were my clients. And one of them in particular, part of my job was to kind of deliver the firm, right? Delivering the firm meant getting our analysts in front of our clients, getting their research and ideas in front of our clients. And this one portfolio manager who was extremely successful would never take a meeting with my analysts. He would always talk to me, but would never take a meeting with any of my analysts. And one day I asked him, I said, listen, you're making me look bad, because he was a high profile portfolio manager and all the analysts wanted to meet him. And as a salesperson, you get scored by the analyst. And one of the knocks against me was that I could not get meetings with this particular PM for them. So I said, listen, you're making me look bad. I said, I'm getting knocked internally. I said, why don't you take meetings with the analysts? And he said, because if they were any good, they would run money. And it's not a fair statement. It's not a fair statement at all. I just want to go on record as saying that. There are plenty of analysts who don't run money for whatever reasons who are very, very good at their job, and everybody adds value in different ways. But that comment stuck with me in my head. And fair or not, that was kind of the view I took afterwards. Like, I guess if you want to be good in this business, you have to run money. Like, that stuck with me. And everything I did from there was to get to this seat.
You're at an interesting place in your career, I suppose we both are, where you're not close to the end, but you've come pretty far from the beginning. With that in mind, what do you ultimately want to be remembered for?
I guess ultimately I want to be remembered as somebody who was a good guy, who took this seriously, who understood that at the end of the day, what we do matters for a lot of people. I think the ultimate compliment in this business is say, yeah, I knew him, he was a good guy. And I think it's a business that lends itself to having a lot of bad guys, a lot of sharks, a lot of people who would stab you in the back for an extra $10 in their bonus.
No.
And I think you want to be just remembered as a good guy. Whatever that means, to me, that's somebody who you trust, who, when you're talking to them, they're not blowing smoke up your ass, who just is going to tell it like it is, no matter what, but is always going to be honest with you. Like I said, to start this whole entire conversation, I'm here because a man believed in the mantra of this business, your word is your bond. And whether he was kidding or not, when he said that to a 12-year-old kid, he honored what he said. And that's a good guy.
That's a good guy. Cheers to that.
Cheers.